In this video, we're going to show you how to install the output transmission speed sensor on your Nissan Versa located on your transmission. Now, if your vehicle has a hubcap or a center cap, you want to go ahead and use your pry tool. Go ahead in there and you want to pop this off and set it aside. Using a 21mm socket, we're going to loosen and remove the lug nuts. Once you have the lug nuts removed, grab the wheel, remove it, and set it aside. And once you have that driver's side front wheel off, here is a plate right here, and this is covering our sensor. Our sensor is down underneath here. So we're going to use our 14mm ratchet wrench. We're going to loosen and remove these 3 bolts. That's going to give us access to the sensor underneath. I'm going to go ahead and work that up and out and pull that out through the wheel well. Now to access our sensor, which is located right here, it is right in front of our CV axle, and we can see that unit right there. There's a 10mm bolt just to the left of the sensor. We're going to use our deep 10mm socket and our 1/4 inch ratchet to get up inside here. Once that bolt is loose, you can reach up there with your fingers and spin that out. We're going to use a flat blade screwdriver. And we want to come in on the top side, on the back of the sensor. I'm just going to get in there, push down, and just work this out. There is a rubber O-ring that helps seal us, and we also put a catch can underneath the vehicle in case any transmission fluid should come out. Now just to the right over here, there's a 10mm bolt right here. And that is securing our harness. We're going to use our 10mm wrench. Once you get it to a certain point, you should be able to spin that out by hand. Go ahead and pull that harness out. So now that we removed that 10mm bolt holding the harness here, right up on top there's a plastic retainer that is pressed in right here. We're going to use our trim tool, which is a little fork. We want to go up inside here, get underneath, and want to pop that up and out, like so. Now with that harness removed from here, go ahead and pull out that sensor. As we pull it out, our transmission fluid is coming out. There is a sensor right there. So I'm just putting some transmission fluid around the O-ring here. Now that we put transmission fluid on our O-ring seal here, it's going to help us slide this in. Let's go ahead and install the new sensor. Before we head up top, we can go ahead and position our new sensor. Get that down in a position. We're going to feed that into the port. And put that in. With the new sensor in place, we're going to install the bolt. And go ahead and snug that down gently. Now I'm going to take the new harness. I'm going to swap the old harness. Take this plastic button right here. We're now going to go ahead and use this plastic retainer here and press it into the position to secure the harness. So we just installed the retainer right here. We take the rest of that harness and just feed it up till we're going to disconnect the old harness. That way there, when we disconnect the harness up top, we can just grab the new harness and reconnect it right there. Using our 13mm socket and extension, we want to go down in the front side of the battery and we want to loosen the hold down clamp. You're going to reach down inside there and pull out the bolt and the clamp. Try not to drop anything down. And there's your bolt and your clamp. Using your 10mm socket and ratchet or your wrench, I want to go ahead and loosen the nuts here, or the nut on the terminal. I'm going to do the same on the positive side here. Our terminal is already a little loose. Go ahead and spin that off. Disconnect the ground. Now we can go ahead and pull that battery out. Now with the battery and the battery tray removed here, we can go ahead and access our connector right here. This is on top of the transmission and it's held in place with a little plastic retainer. We're going to use our trim tool here and just get underneath. And the only reason why we're popping out the plastic retainer button here is going to allow us to get both hands on this connector to separate it. Now there's a tab right here on the gray connector that has to get pushed in, and then you can go ahead and pull the brown connector out of the gray. Disconnected there. I'm just simply going to reach over I'm going to reach over and grab the connector for the new sensor that we installed. Line that up. Push that together. You're going to feel it in, hear it snap together. Let's remove our other sensor and harness. At this point, we'll go ahead and pull our old sensor out. Now we want to go ahead and swap this little retainer button over. We want to slide that out of the old unit. Go ahead and pop that out like so. Go ahead and discard of that old sensor. I'm going to slide this into the bottom side of the new sensor and lock that back into the top of the transmission. Now, installing your battery tray, there is an FR with an arrow facing forward or front. Go ahead and drop that down in a location. Go ahead and get your battery in. With that in place, you now go ahead and install your battery hold-down clamp. You want to go ahead and feed that clamp down. Get that down in a position. Once you get that down in a position, go ahead and get that bolt started. Okay, you just want to go ahead and snug that down. Go ahead and install your battery terminal. Install the ground terminal and snug this one down. Once you're all set, go ahead and put that cover on. Now with our harness connected in both places, we have the one bolt on the back here we need to install. Just gonna reach back here, and what this does is holds that harness in place in the back. Now this bolt for this harness just needs to be snugged down. It doesn't have to be super tight. Once that's done, we're going to go ahead and install our metal shield or plate on the back side of the transmission. Let's go ahead and install our plate. We're going to feed this in through the top. Drop it down in a position. Kind of guide it in from reaching up through the bottom there. Once you have the plate in place, go ahead and reach in with the other hand, get the bolts started by hand. I like to thread these bolts in as far as I can by hand before tightening anything down. We'll put in our third and last bolt for this plate. All right, let's go ahead and tighten those down. So these bolts do not have a structural purpose. So I'm going to go ahead and snug those bolts down. And on that third and last inboard bolt, we're going to use our gear wrench for clearance purposes. All right. Let's go ahead and install your wheel. Install the lug nuts. We're going to get all four of them started by hand. Spin those on a few threads. By doing this here and not just zipping them on with the impact gun will prevent cross threading of the threads. With all 4 of them started, let's go ahead and snug them down. Let's torque down a lug nuts to 83 foot-pounds. Now, if you're installing your center cap or hub cap here, you want to go ahead and go around the perimeter and locate the notch for the valve stem. Locate the valve stem on the wheel. Line that up first. Once that's lined up, go ahead and gently work your way around the perimeter, locking this on. On the front here, I'm going to go ahead and use our trim tool. We want to pop up these buttons right here. Set those aside. I want to go ahead and lift this up. I want to pull all of this out. So what we're going to do, I'm going to use my screwdriver here. We just want to kind of open up these little tabs and separate this here. With that separated, take out this whole unit and wiggle this up and out. Set that aside. Now that we have that portion of the air intake box removed, we're going to go ahead and locate our transmission dipstick tube right here. This goes into our CVT transmission. You're going to grab that, pull it out, and have a towel. And what we want to take a look at, I'm going to give this a wipe. And on here, there's a cross hatch section that we want to keep that fluid into. It was down to the next tab down here that has a notch. It is low, so we want to make sure that when we fill up or top off our transmission, it is inside the mark with the section with the cross hatching in it. So we're going to put this back in. We need to start up the vehicle, get the transmission fluid up to operating temperature. So we just go back from warming up the vehicle, and right here we are down quite a bit. That's probably roughly a good 1.5 quarts or so of fluid. So I'm going to go ahead and wipe this. Set that aside. Put our funnel in, and we're going to use some specific CVT transmission fluid. And we're going to go ahead and add this fluid. Now what you're going to want to do at home is at this point here, pull the funnel, put the dipstick back in, start up the vehicle. With it in park, come back out, use the dipstick, check that fluid. With it running, in park, check the fluid. You want it to be warm. We've already done this here. I know that it's going to take about 1.5 quarts to go ahead and fill up the system. Then we'll start up our vehicle and double check just like you would do at home. Go ahead and remove that funnel, put in your dipstick, and go ahead and fire it up. Let it run for a few minutes, and then check it again. So we have our vehicle running. It's been warmed up. I'm going to go ahead and pull that tube. You want to go ahead and wipe this down. Put it back in, and we're going to go ahead and check that fluid. Make sure that we are inside those cross hatch marks there. Yep, we're right where we need to be. Go ahead and reinstall this here. Let's go ahead and reinstall the rest of our air intake box here. Now when we install this unit here, there are 2 pins you need to install. There's this larger one on the top right here, and the one at the very bottom right here. So I'm going to feed this down inside. Once that's in, I want to go ahead and line this up here, push that in, and I'll just snap into place, push that down. Once those 3 points of contact are locked in, the bottom, this here, and this intake port right here, we can go ahead and install our 2 plastic locking buttons right here. Install your plastic retainer buttons.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.